SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. Whew, my name is Neil.
Are you sure?
Well, there's been a lot of question marks this morning.
Yeah.
With Simpson Family Jeeps SFJ 4x4. And Scott and I, are flying sans any technical person that we've employed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, we're all alone. We've been pressing buttons and trying things for I don't even know how long.
So if you're hearing us either on the live and seeing us on the Book of Faces,
Which
and
we
the
think you
YouTubes,
are.
which we think you are, so throw us a shout in the comments because we see the comments coming in. Or if we are in your ear holes at a later date, then that means we have
we have produced a show
we have produced the show on our own today.
because for those who don't know, Jeff is out trying to do
Chasing a dream.
Chasing a dream. Davey is vacationing.
Davey's on vacation.
So
here we are.
this is it. Yay!
My 12-year-old is at school. He wasn't going to come in and help us. I am a little worried because I've not seen anybody comment that they in fact can hear us.
Yeah, it is a little.
I do have some reservation. Likewise,
I mean, people aren't saying that they can't, though.
no, that's true. That's true. So, got Facebook. So Dave at Geauga Jeeper says Facebook's coming in loud and proud. Yeah. Scott and I have just totally like in tune with our younger year selves
Yes.
when we actually did tech stuff.
Yeah, just clicking stuff to see what happens.
We got here. We didn't get here by sitting on our hands, folks. I'm not gonna shy away from a little challenge, but I'm also not super comfy either. Clicking buttons and what I'm gonna tell you is we are attempted to transition to the weekend update as well.
Yeah,
and not just Scott's do
Yeah.
noise.
And we just kept adding things. So we got something figured out and we're like, okay, we're going to do the weekend's updates. And then we got that figured out. And then we're like, okay, we want the goat.
We want okay.
Couldn't figure out
We
the
can't
goat.
figure out the goat, folks. But that is our goal for you.
We have
for us.
suspicions about where the goat went.
Yeah, we think Jeffrey sabotaged us. There's no suspicion. I'm going to put it out there to the universe. Jeff sabotaged us, and he took the goat with him.
Yeah.
It's his signature.
Yes.
Well, Nathan first says, I don't know what he says. It doesn't. You know what? It's backwards. It's Ingenorum Doog, which should be good morning, but it's backwards. Thank you, Nathan. Jock Jeepers says, good morning. Jeannie, good morning, everyone. Hope your weekend was great. Nick, good morning, fellow Jeepers. James Highlands, hey, guys, snowing? Yes, James, it's
yes.
snowing. Enjoy the pool in the sunshine of Florida.
He's building things.
He is building things. He's always built. I love what he's always building. Brain's always moving there. And obviously we got Facebook coming in loud and proud. Andrew says, good morning. Jeannie says, we hear you. Nick, Facebook Live is going here. James says, we hear you. William on YouTube says, gotcha. Geauga Jeepers, have Scott do the intro. Less buttons to push. And Jeannie says, I think you have to have a class with Jack. Jeannie, we did.
He gave us cheat sheets.
He gave us cheat sheets.
We just threw him away at this point.
We ignored him. Let's be honest.
We learn by doing things with our hands.
Yeah.
Reading instructions is hard.
Well, let's be honest. We SFJ has grown to a proportion that we employed people to provide services and particular things, so we could do other things.
Yes.
Were we capable of it at one time? Yes. Do we want to add that back into our repertoire?
Not really.
No, no. I don't want to produce the podcast. I want Jeffrey to come back on Mondays. He still is not revealed to the world what and where and who his restaurant is. Soon enough. They are technically closed on Mondays in the future, and so his hopes are to come back and be part of the podcast series. Because if you weren't familiar, Jeffrey and I had a leadership and a self-improvement podcast called The American Hustle.
That's paused at the moment.
That's taken a big backseat at the moment. But there is value, right? There's value in continuing that. We have this beautiful space. We have the equipment. We want to continue to produce.
Have a following.
Right. We have a following. We've got great downloads. We want to keep all of that going. But he had pretty much no time to initiate the opening of this
Right.
property, and he was trying to open by early March. So best of luck to him. And so we'll Kristen is on, says big projects, give it a couple weeks. So yeah, that's Kristen, his Jeffrey's wife, and Kristen would oftentimes help out if there was sound or video issues.
I'm glad she's still here.
Right. We can count on her. Clearly, Jeff has left us high and dry, but Kristen, we can count on.
Yes.
But she would be in his ear, and they'd be comparing tech notes. I love their little tag team thing that they were doing, right? And I would just sit over there and be able to host, and Jeffrey would be over here with a flurry of clicking buttons and pushing things.
Yeah, he's doing it so fast we couldn't really keep track.
No, I didn't even try. I don't care. I employed him to do that. It was he did it exceptionally.
Yeah.
But here we are. So hopefully it continues.
And that's a great intro to our topic of how to pick your project.
It is, and today we're going to be talking about picking your perfect project. For now and beyond. Additionally, if you want to hear about how our weekends were on a personal level, you want to stay through the outro credit. If you couldn't give 2 figs, then that's your sign off, and so be it. We don't mind that one bit. I do want to take a moment to say that Bradford says, "Good morning, folks." James tells us that his pool water temp is a chilly 83 degrees.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He says water temp is 83. Then we have Lucky McDeerhead says good morning and is Bill. So I'm assuming that might be Bill McWilliams, but I don't know. Lucky McDeerhead. I love some of these screen names.
Yep.
Anyway, so today you had a bit of this brainchild in picking a project. We've talked on tidbits of this in the past, but I think it's a valuable topic to resurface, especially because we have a number of new project vehicles into the shop that also, with Jeffrey leaving us high and dry, we haven't done a live in about a month.
Yeah.
Totally Jeff's fault. And so nobody actually knows that we have, things that are moving.
Yep.
But they are, obviously. And so we're going to be kind of talking about that, how do we buy that dream? We've certainly used that phrase before.
Absolutely.
And so
purchasing the idea of the dream.
So what was your conception here?
Well, I kind of came to a come to Jesus moment over the weekend, and you have to listen and to the weekend updates to find out what that is. I'm not going to reveal, but something was dropped off at my house, and old Scott would have been like excited. It's fresh. It's new. He would have dropped 14 other projects to go play with this new thing.
Yes.
And at this point in life, I can look at that and go, it's not a great project.
Sure.
It doesn't match my dream of what I want the next project to be. I can see value in it, and I can see where someone else could use that as a project and purchase that dream. At the same time, I can see some pieces and parts of it that I can use in other projects.
You and I had talked briefly about this prior to you receiving it in its physical form.
Yep.
And then I saw you receiving it.
Yep.
I was completely disconnected. Let's be honest. I was like, that is a hunk of crap.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so we'll talk about
And I
that in the
took
weekend updates.
That was a good picture too. That was a good side.
Well, God, how many times have we done that in life? Like,
Absolutely.
we're like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yes. And really what it comes down to, you got the itch, you want a new project, something's gotten in your face on Marketplace, which we completely understand. We have zero financial pocketbook money to go look at a Marketplace find. We have no business starting a new project, either one of us. I guarantee. When's the last time you were on Marketplace? Was it last night? Was it this morning?
It was this morning.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I do. I wake up and I look at Marketplace.
We can't help it.
I wake up and I look at Marketplace.
And we're like, that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, I could do something with that.
And the cool thing about Marketplace is all of our interests are on there. Like the algorithm, however you say that, it knows us very well. So there's tractors and there's random buildings and there's equipment for the tractors. And then there's this ramshackle
Your
piece
words
of crap
hurt me.
vehicle.
Your words hurt me.
There's some
so
property. I saw a trailer. I was like, oh, I should send that to Neil. No, I shouldn't. So we understand.
Yes.
And it's very easy to get addicted to just looking across the marketscape.
Yes.
And I'll even justify it like, well, then I know where the market is. Where are used vehicle values at?
Yes, that's my my excuse. That's I tell everybody I'm a professional when it comes to that because I spend so much time.
We have
looking at
our fingers on the pulse of the market.
Yes.
But so something gets in your face and you're like, oh, I've always wanted X, Y, and Z. And it can be a Jeep. It can be a piece of land. It could be a house. It could be anything.
Right.
And you think, I'm going to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to do the reckoning. And most of us in that situation don't have a pile of cash that we can just go rob the piggy bank and go buy that. Especially me. I'm always like, well, if I leverage this.
You're playing chess.
Flip
Constantly.
that. And then I can do this. And what that means is I've gone all in on this project. And then I have to then have the reckoning once the shiny newness wears off. And sometimes that's before it's even on the trailer to haul it home.
The buyer's remorse.
As hits. And I am one of those people, like, once I say I'm going to do it, I don't back out. So even though I might be like, man, I was not.
That was a bad move.
It was a bad move. I'm still going to purchase it.
Right.
So.
Right, because that integrity takes over.
Right.
I've now open mouth insert foot with that individual that I said, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come out my pocket $400. Where am I going to get that $400? I don't know where that. I don't know yet. But I'm going to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But now I've said it. Now I'm committed to it.
Yes.
Right? With that integrity. And that's a pit of your stomach experience. I'm like, wow, how can I turn some fast cash? What can I scrap or sell quickly that's laid out?
And if you really bought a project, if you haven't scrapped for it. But any regard.
Now, there are, and I do think we need to expand the conversation to a number of well-executed individuals who do go, hey, I am saving this money over here.
I don't know how they do that.
Well, I mean, factually, I do know a number of our customers do that. My dad specifically does that because it is his Jeep fund.
I appreciate their constitution.
Yes.
To be able to see that through.
Well, and I do think that is a remarkable piece. Now, with that said, once they have established that piggy bank of resources, now it becomes this arduous challenge of finding the right project within that piggy bank allotment, or the right qualifiers.
And that's also part of this conversation is how do you know when the project is correct? So you don't have that buyer remorse, or you're going into it with appropriate expectations. And
right, can I put a $10,000 piggy bank for a new Ferrari?
Right,
you
can't.
It's not realistic expectation.
No,
I saw it on YouTube though. They got it at an auction, twice removed.
Yeah, it's only taken them 4 years to rebuild it.
Yeah, but it only took 45 minutes in a YouTube video.
But also, what made me think of this is we had 2 vintage crawlovers last week, and while on paper they were very similar, in reality they were so broad and different.
They were 180 degrees from each other.
And I don't think these people, they kind of just rolled the dice and got lucky. on one and
unlucky on the
on
other.
the other one.
And I think that I love how you're associating it. And I both people are great, individuals.
Yep.
And
They both
I
had a
think that
dream for the
They
project.
did. And I think we're going to be able to talk about how the two projects could be similar or dissimilar.
Yep.
But you're absolutely right. They both had a healthy budget
Yep.
in mind. This
same,
is not
same budget.
same budget.
Yeah.
This was not chump change. This was not the scrapping, for $400 conversation.
This is I'm going to go purchase something I should be able to use and tinker with project budget. This is not I went and scrapped, like Neil said, and bought a hunk of crap to put in my yard,
That's
which
correct.
we would do.
Okay, quite literally,
Yeah.
we have gone to, and it was a family owned, it was a pasture.
Yes.
And pulled a rotten body that my
Absolutely.
grandfather had discarded
And it's
hauled it
still
home.
here.
It's still with us.
We have given it back and forth to each other 2 or 3 times.
We have.
What's sad is I'm actually at the position I could fix it now.
You are. You absolutely are. And I hope that someday you will.
And we also support each other by holding our dreaming projects on each other's property. We can hide these things from
We
each other.
hide things from each other and our spouses.
Yeah. So long that he's forgotten about them
I
sometimes.
absolutely have forgotten about certain things that are sitting on your property. That's so true. Well, and so
And that's also part of the project. Where are you going to put it?
okay, absolutely. And I love that idea, right? Because I was on the phone with another manufacturer this morning, and they're going to a show and out west, and they called up they said, well, we're just going to stick it at this rep's house. And somebody else in the office goes, do they even have room? Like, can he park it at his house? Do we know that?
Right.
Just because, like, it sounds good in your head
Right.
doesn't actually mean that.
Have we done the follow through? We've made the phone call. Has he overpromised? Is his wife going to divorce him now?
Right, because now
Yeah.
there's an extra vehicle sitting around on their property.
Absolutely.
Is there an HOA involved? We all have seen the shorts, and right now I think a lot of it's clickbait.
Absolutely.
But there's shorts and there's YouTube videos regarding HOAs. But HOAs are a real thing
They are.
within the broad homeowner
And
community.
spoiler alert: Neil and I could not live in an HOA. No,
There's no spoiler alert. I don't think there's a single listener of ours who,
That's
for one
now
moment,
shocked.
who's now shocked.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's shocked and dismayed that we could not live in an HOA.
And our properties look pretty nice from the front.
I do.
Mine might have something kind of junky in the driveway at the moment, but I'm working
I've
through
become
it.
really skilled at trying to hide mine behind buildings
Absolutely.
and like just out of the direct line of sight.
Fences make friends.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Fences make good neighbors. That is how it works. So as far as picking that project and what we like to call buying the dream.
Yep.
I do think that there is merit in expanding upon these two vintage crawlovers. Now,
Absolutely.
I do think that there is the same concepts are for individuals who have this notion that they want to own a Jeep, right? Maybe they are new to owning a Jeep, or they've always wanted to own a Jeep, and they're going to buy. Maybe they can't exactly afford a brand new JL,
Right.
but they're going to buy a JK that they can work on a little bit, that they can do some upfitting too. So I think that the principles, the concepts are similar, while the content might change.
Yes.
And as you painted that picture, while they are specifically the situation we talked about, the individuals were automotive enthusiasts. Right? They
knew enough.
they knew enough. I think they're the average automotive consumer
Yep.
who thought a vintage vehicle would be cool, vintage Jeep.
Well, I think everyone at some point likes the bargain hunt, the idea of I got more than I paid for scenario of
I
things.
think everybody does. Nobody
That's what I
wants to
was
be
saying.
like, oh, I really got housed, in this process.
So it's a little bit of like will it be the winning lottery ticket? Will I be the one that's going to find the one of
Yes.
three
Yes.
in the barn, and it's going to take little to no work and make it run, and now I'm going to be driving it in 3 weeks? that is very much not going to happen for 98% of us. There is always someone that's on YouTube or on the Books of Faces or whatever that does do that. But for Joe Average, I can speak from experience. That is usually not the case.
Right.
So what I really think whenever you're starting a project is you should not go full bore willy-nilly like me or Neil, and you should literally sit down with a piece of paper and you say, what do I want this project to do in my life? What do I want to use it as? How do I want to use it? What will it meet my needs? Like, you should not get a 2-door with no back seat if you have 5 kids. That kind of stuff. Make things kind of make sense so that you don't have that, oh, I really screwed up this time, and people are now mad at me. I have known nothing about that. Anyway, you also should say, what are the basic things I would like this vehicle to have? If we get in newer ones, do I want it to have AC? Do I want to have power locks and that kind of stuff? It is so much harder. It costs you, I will say, 3 to 4 times more to add something than on a newer vehicle, especially, than if it doesn't.
Well, and I'm interrupting, but don't lose your thought process, your train of thought here. That's why one of the first things we ask people when they come into us for consultation, regardless of old or new vehicle, how do you intend to use the vehicle? Right? All too often people want to jump in and be like, well, I think I'd like a lift kit. Well, that's cool. You can want tires and wheels and lifts and lights, and you can want a new fancy interior, but how do you intend to use the vehicle?
Absolutely.
And so that's part of our project planning, is to help the Jeep enthusiast focus their expectations.
Speaking of which, we had another call over, bought, honestly, by accident, a very nice Jeep that was already modified for off-roading. They really don't plan to do that. So did they get lucky with new parts and they don't have to invest in that? Yes. Was it really, did they pay more for products they're not going to use? Possibly. But then I also overheard, that I think there was a first Jeep, and the driver of this was like, I kind of have a vision of what it to look like. I want it to be a big, impressive Jeep. And she was talking like 6-8 inch lifts. Well, that's a commitment. And when you're green and you're going into it, you don't realize what you're giving up when you lift something that tall.
Right.
And if you want it to have certain drivability standards, how much money you have to invest.
Which was with Quirky, because obviously one of the reasons they were in was because they didn't like how it handled currently.
Correct.
And that
was like a disconnect.
Slight disconnect between I see monster truck Jeeps out there. I see,
and the grass is always greener.
100%. But if they're just cruising down, sunny Florida Boulevard to the next fun lights and sound competition, it's very different than trying to cruise down a pothole-filled northern, highway at 70, 80 miles per hour.
And not only that, okay, so we do get lucky and we do modify our vehicle, and then we have an issue. Well, now what? Can I work on it? Can the mechanic I employ normally work on it? And we had all those conversations last week as well.
With all of those people who had purchased their projects.
All their mechanics are pretty much like, peace out.
Yeah, like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't know what I'm looking at. And I affirmed every one of them to go back home and to tell their general mechanics, thank you.
Yep.
Because that was the best piece of advice, because we know too many Jim Bob garages who are like, well, I can fix it.
I can press buttons until something works.
I can produce that podcast. Yeah. I mean, and I thought that was appropriate. And so with that, when you're picking that project, do I have the appropriate resources available to me in my immediate circle?
And another big challenge, I'm just going to let a cat out of the bag. Sometimes you don't know how you want to use a vehicle or how you experience the vehicle until you own it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to have appropriate expectations when that happens. Sometimes you have to come to Jesus and go, hey, I actually don't like this, or I didn't buy what I thought I was buying. And now I actually, because of this vehicle, now I'm in the community. Now I see this over here, and that's actually what I want. Spoiler alert, hashtag not a restoration is a perfect example. He went out, he found a vintage Jeep. He was excited. He had an idea of what he wanted to use it. He thought he was going to fall in love with wheeling it. He actually fell in love with the build process.
Mm-hmm.
And now, retrospect wise, he wish he would have bought a CJ7 because of the space inside. Would have made it better of a cruiser. But he was looking at the lay of the land. He had friends in earlier vintage vehicles that were wheeling them and wedging themselves in them. So he thought, well, they're doing it. I can do it.
And I identify because that specific combination of guys have been in and out of the shop recently.
Yep.
And I have kind of connected in a sense with the one owner who's got a 63 CJ 3B.
Yep.
And I recognize how much. I mean, he talks about he likes the fact that he shows up to JJ USA and he's one of maybe 5 vintage Jeeps, and he's almost always the oldest one.
Yeah.
And he understands that he's not as that the Jeep does not have all the technical proficiencies as a brand new modern day Rubicon.
Yeah.
But he likes that he is willing to subject himself to the discomfort and the challenge of wheeling those same places and spaces.
Yep.
And I identify with that, right? But then the Angry Turtle, I tell this story about Jason and the Angry Turtle years ago with his project in this Jeep. He needed a Swiss Army knife.
Yep.
He needed a Jeep that he could commute in, but then he also wanted to wheel heavily or proficiently. And I remember breaking any number of one of my vintage pieces of crap while off-road and then riding along with Jason because he almost never broke. Because he brought it to us to actually work and build, and he knew that his extension or his limitations were where they were, and he brought him to his resources. But then B, he just chose different lines and places, and the modern conveniences of his Jeep were better. But I would get in, and he would have music playing. Usually, it could be rock, could be alternative, whatever. He had the air conditioning on, or he had the heat on. Meanwhile, I was like topless in January in my socks, wheeling, trying to desperately get this crappy Solex carburetor to find a power band.
Yes.
And Jason would just kind of point and shoot through the trail,
And what's crazy is in that situation, both people are looking at the other one going, he has something I don't.
And that's exactly where Ryan with Not a Restoration was like, he looked in at his friend who was wheeling the 3B and was like, I could do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then when you actually, it's like somebody else jumping into one of, my experience going, no, that's crazy. Nobody actually wants to do that. The vast majority don't. And Ryan quickly learned like, no, I'm cool to cruise in mine.
I mean, not everyone wants their wife, girlfriend to sit on the passenger side with their foot on the stick on the transfer case so it doesn't pop out of gear.
Oh, you're going to bring that up, huh?
It was a bonding moment early on for Jen and Neil to wheel the red CJ 2A.
She's such a good soul.
Yeah, she is.
She's here for it.
Yeah,
she's here for it
like,
all.
I will hold that stick with my foot, no problem.
Yes, that's how we wheeled. Anyway, so you're picking that project. Realistic expectations. You might not always know them, and that's what that's the point you were making. You're looking across the grass is greener on that other side. That's why when you are consulting with us, and our experience tells us to try and help you explore mentally some of those concepts. Likewise, that family who bought that Jeep that was actually more off-road ready. They went to the dealership. They didn't know. It was a 16 or 17 JKU. Nice looking Jeep, decent wheels.
Had nice equipment in it.
Yeah. It was already re-geared.
Axle was gusseted and beefed up. It had skid plates.
It had nice heavy-duty diff covers on it.
Yeah.
It had more of an economy lift, but there was other parts and pieces. It was workable, and that's why I said it was
aftermarket bumpers. It was winch ready. You could see someone saved their winch. That evidence that it had a winch on it one time. So for you or I would have been like, game on. We can make it our own. We can tweak the lift kit a little bit. But a lot of the, expensive, say $10,000 worth of upgrades are there, and the resale value of those upgrades, sadly, is low.
It was nil.
Nil.
Actually, the dealership didn't even know those.
They didn't
things.
even upsell
It
on
had skids from front to back.
Yeah.
It was a total crazy trade-in.
It's
in some
probably
way.
10 grand's probably low on the upgrades that this Jeep had. And like I said, that literally was kind of a hitting the lottery moment. But they
For the
didn't
right
even-
person,
They
but
didn't even know.
they didn't know.
Yeah.
And I kind of politely, they kind of don't care because that's not exactly how they intend to use the
Right.
vehicle.
They want a street cruiser that
They want a
looks
cruiser
cool.
that looks cool, and maybe they'll go camping eventually in it.
Yes, 100%. So that's a perfect example of like you just why I say you don't know what you don't know till you know it, and sometimes the Jeep will tell you what it wants because you have to evolve with the project and be okay with that. Understand that you're not going to know all the things all the times, and sometimes we had this last week that hey, I'm not actually equipped to handle this project now that I am aware of where the project is. So now I have to find a way to get out of this project. And am I really up a creek without a paddle? Do I have something I can sell? Can I now appropriately disclose? Maybe I wasn't disclosed well when I purchased it. How much loss am I going to take? Am I going to take a loss?
So specifically, the tale of two Jeeps that we had, the vintage crawlovers. One of them was a military vehicle. They paid a healthy price point from a.
I'd say they paid an average, something you should be able to get in and run around. And
So they paid what, 14 to 16?
14 to 16.
Yeah, and the Jeep, when they initially got their hands on it, did
function.
At a bare minimum, it functioned.
Yes.
Right, and that is relative to your expectations, right? To your ownership, right? So do I expect this? It was a 52.
Yep.
It was a 52 M38. Do I expect this to drive for 4 hours straight while I run errands? I jump on a small grade highway, take me 50 miles per hour.
And I think it's also important to note this was the oldest vehicle in their experience.
correct.
They had played two guys together. I think it was like a joint venture
Right. It was
of
a
things.
business partnership.
The one was really into cars. He had lots of 70s and newer vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And I say all the time in my echo chamber that the older you go, the more things you have to do. The longer it's been around, the more maintenance that's been missed, the more age has hurt it, and the more you
Totally.
give up.
And a totally different technology at that time
Yes.
versus what our expectations are now, and
Correct.
way of life.
Correct.
And sacrifice is what you were saying, is that
Sacrifices.
you have to now make a lot of sacrifices that we now accept as normal part of our daily life.
Correct.
Ride comfort, efficiency,
Yep.
speed to running errands.
Noise in the cabin, weatherability. Is it going to be able to go out in the rain? That kind of stuff. As you go older, it gets harder and harder.
I think that's a big part of picking the project that a lot of people don't understand. And we talk about the nostalgia, the romance, the kind of the broad sex appeal of this vintage,
Absolutely.
iconic American iron. And it's just romanticized.
Yes.
That's a big piece that I want to hammer home for a lot of people listening. You have to be the right person to actually get into that older vehicle.
Absolutely.
If you currently are enamored with Jeeps, and I see it amongst much of the Jeep community now.
We get it. They're cool, and they open a door to allow you to go camping, and that's why so many Jeep commercials show them off-road camping in nature. That's the epitome of what the Jeep dream is. And really what I feel a little bad now, what made it worse is we were able to show them the current M38 we have in the shop that we have painstakingly gone through nut and bolt restoration wise. And it would have done what their dream was for this other Jeep.
Yes.
But they weren't equipped to handle the restoration process and timeline and cost that it would take to take the Jeep they brought in to make it that Jeep
But in the moment of their searching and their conceptualization, right, where you kind of, this dream is born in the back of your brain,
Yes.
it becomes relative to your experience.
Oh, and another thing that I just thought of, and I'm guilty, I'll go on and I'll look at the market and I'll try to pick the best one on the market that time. And I admit, I don't have much patience. I'm not going to sit around for 3 years looking for a project. Probably should, because I've also been in the situation where, okay, I bought the best one I could. 2 weeks later, man, look, it's cheaper. It's actually better shape.
Yes.
Has all these cool parts with it. But now I've spent all my scrap money on the first one, so I got to deal with it.
You know, my dad was a huge one. This was so influential on me when I was a kid, because I have the same, you know, desire that you have. But his thing was there will always be another great deal, another
Absolutely.
great project.
My dad told me that too. Somehow the words were hollow in the moment.
And so what I was saying is that it becomes relative to your experience. I don't have this project, so now my ability to go consume it for $1,000 or $10,000 is now it makes my dream a reality, and we like that as humans.
Now I'm a
right?
player in the game.
But the problem is, if my expectation is to, and I feel like these folks they're intending to create a business model out of it. So I want to kind of continue to expand on their storyline. Their hope was to be able to have people come, join them in their Jeep, and take them on off-road adventures. And so you would have a customer come and join you in the Jeep, and then you would go use it off-road.
So you immediately have someone that's not prepared for it to break down, make clanky noises, things fall off, which we have all experienced.
And that is part of off-roading, right?
Yes.
But if it is all that you do in your off-road experience, then that's not a good experience.
Correct.
Right? We don't need necessarily for it to be point and shoot, right?
Yeah.
Nina Barlow from the Southwestern Territories has made a living on giving people a really high quality experience, and her target market is not exactly the off-road community.
Yeah.
While there are off-roaders who go and enjoy her services, she markets to the person who's going to go back to their office environment, who's going to drive their sedan or their minivan.
Yep.
And and on the one weekend every 3 years or every year, they go out to Moab, they get to rent one of her Jeeps, and it's a pleasant experience that is uneventful. It is not changing U-joints in 2 foot of mud when, you know, there's snow flurries around.
Or removing your heater on the side of the trail because your foot doesn't fit.
Stop it. Stop. Do you remember that time that I was in my pretty shoes and I was jumping on the back bumper of
I do.
one of yours? Okay.
And you had a pretty shirt on too.
Yeah, I was. But see, that's man.
Planning. What is that?
That was irrelevant. But so, you know, so for their situation, relative to their experience, was they thought that if we spend between $14,000 and $16,000 to buy this vintage Jeep, that it should allow us, it should be the vessel.
And they knew they were going to have to work on it.
Correct.
They were okay with investing in it. So they had, I would say, just decent expectations, but they were so blinded by the excitement of the possibility that they didn't look the project over.
Well, but I'm going to go back to, did they not look it over, or you don't know what you don't know? Because it becomes relative to your experience.
I think a little bit of both in that situation is they both were true. They overlooked some things because they were excited.
I think we all have that capacity to do that.
Absolutely. They also didn't know some of what was involved. Another good saying that my dad and I've kind of learned by doing is look at the market. How much does something cost to go do what you want to do with this vehicle? So if your dream is to take your restored CJ7 and go to a car show and be able to drive it a couple days a week and go to a big Jeep event, okay, go on and bring a trailer, go on Haggerty, look at values, go on Mecum, see how much things are cost, and understand there's going to be a broad range of pricing, and be honest with yourself where those vehicles are at. Because we went to the Mecum and we saw some vehicles that they looked great on camera.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really have a whole lot going on. But we go on and say, okay, is that $20,000? Is that $30,000? Is that $80,000? Can I even get close? And okay, yes, I bought this one for 14, but if this Jeep that I see that is closer to doing what I want to do is 32 grand, then I need to be prepared to know that I'm going to put that much into it at least.
Pay now or pay later.
And usually it ends up costing you more because the person is now selling that project for whatever reason is taking a loss 90% of the time, because sadly, and this hurts me to say this, vehicles are not the best investment.
Vehicles are almost always a depreciating asset.
Yes.
And they're only an asset from the sense that typically you can sell them for something at the end.
Yes.
Otherwise, I only loosely use the word asset in a association with
I've
the
had to have
vehicle.
multiple conversations with people with restorations, be like, you're going to invest more than the vehicle's worth, but you're not doing it for that reason. You're doing it for the experience and for the enjoyment.
And I've seen there's a number of comments coming in. I haven't had an opportunity to switch back over and read them or read those messages. But one of the things I did see is James Highlands talking about being purpose built.
Yep.
You're investing in that dream to make it what you want it to be.
Exactly what you want it to be.
So you could go to, and I loved your idea, Bring a Trailer, which has just hit a record sales. So it's a huge marketplace. People are buying projects more than ever, right? In all states of finish, right?
Correct.
Underdone or well done. You could go to Haggerty. You can go to any of these places where we can find a accessorized vehicle, right?
That has a value associated.
That has a value associated. We're not talking about, hey, I'm going to the dealership to buy something necessarily.
Correct.
But even still, think about going to the dealership and buying a done V8 vehicle.
Absolutely.
That's well engineered to travel from coast to coast and north to south, right?
Yep.
If the dealership wants $80,000 for a V8 equipped vehicle,
which I think is a cheap date for
it
that.
is nowadays, right? Especially in the Jeep market. Then you should definitely consider like, oh, well, I got this junk Hemi or I got this junk 350 sitting back here. I bet I can shoehorn that into my Jeep. Well, I got to be honest. If your expectation is to drive it 6, 8, 10 hours, this junk 350 sitting in your backyard isn't the vehicle,
Correct.
right? There's a reason. And if it is, then you got to put the $80,000 in that the new vehicle costs.
Correct.
And so being conscious of that, the value to picking your dream project is, as James said, being purpose built. You get to put your flavor on it. You buy the shell of the house,
Yes.
and you get to put your kitchen in there. You get to put your
you pick
bathroom
the
in.
countertops, you pick the color, you pick the flooring, but
another-
you're going to pay for that.
Another customer of ours from Florida, Rob and Teresa, they bought the shell of the house, the location of the house.
Yeah.
That was their project. And then they gutted it down to the bare studs.
Yep.
That is our conversation here today. Now they get to build everything back the way they want. They want to know what's in there. And that's one of the values that we get that. And that's why through our Google photo albums, through our communication, through our processes, we want you to have that experience
And
too.
not only that, and that's from experience of how many times had we built things and done stuff, and people are like, "Oh, do you have pictures of that?" No.
Years ago.
Years ago.
And years ago.
And
yeah.
so because we have learned that the hard way, we set people up. When you come in for a project with us, you immediately get an album, and that's literally the first day it's dropped off. We start that album, and it goes on from there. And then if we have questions of, it's just as simple of, well, how did this bracket go on, all the way up to, okay, now, it's 5-10 years later, and now my life has changed. My priorities have changed. I'm going to sell this vehicle. Now you have a running history of the vehicle. And I grew up going to big car shows, and they would have the photo album on the core support of the car, and taking better pictures than we would. and documenting the process and being able to flip through and show what they started with and how rusty it was and that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's exactly part of this picking your project is prepare to do the homework,
Yes.
right? As you were talking about the project management piece of, do I have the budget? Am I robbing Peter to pay Paul? Am I actually have the resource network to do this? Can I create the paper trail, the documentation? Again, that's one of the things that we do for our customers, but that is a customer experience with us, right?
And not only that,
Are you ready to do that yourself for that 5, 10, 15
Right.
years later?
and be prepared to learn things that on the smallest minutia that you never thought was going to matter, but matters a lot. Case in point, I have a friend, working on a project, GM product, and it had one type of motor in it, and the motor was bad, and he was okay with that. And he was like, okay, this motor is bad. What would I like to upgrade? Well, I know that 455s were offered. That's what I'd like to find. So he searches up a 455, goes out and buys it. Then after the fact, finds out Oldsmobile was one type of 455. Pontiac was another one. Buick was another one. Yes, the cubic inches were all the same, but they are all different
It's like
engines.
the 3.6 engine.
It's like the 3.6 engine. It's like the 360. I wish I had $1 for every time I got asked, is that a Dodge motor that's in a vintage Jeep? Could be, but no, it's not from the factory.
Right.
People don't know those things. And because of that, you are able to make improper purchases that actually don't do your budget or your project benefit. Now we've spent money on this and it actually is the wrong product and we can't even use it in the project. Or I thought that was really good on the eBay listing and actually the thumb was covering the crack in it and now I can't use it. That's all happened in the game we call building a project.
Oh, 100%.
And yes, this is still applicable to newer vehicles. We've had people come in and, they want to do a simple outfit of their project. Say they want to change the fenders on their JK. There are so many different options. They don't know what to purchase. And at that point, you kind of, at least me, I'm always looking. So I'm looking at Marketplace, I'm looking on Amazon, I'm looking on eBay. I'm looking for that deal. Well, if you don't know that this brand is actually straight hot garbage and this brand is good, but priced competitively together, you're going to think they're on an even playing field.
Correct.
And in that situation, it's actually better to pay the $50 more and get the better fender, but you don't know that. You don't know that fender is actually better than the piece of hot garbage fender. And most of the time we have people come in, they bought the hot garbage fender. It's 6 months later, it's rusting, it's falling apart. And now we literally have a saying for that. It's good money after bad money. You've wasted that first investment. Now you just basically crinkle up the paper and throw it away and start over.
Well, and I was going to say with that, I guess tool for the toolbox is limit your distractions, right? Do the homework, consult the professionals to the best of your ability. And I encounter enough people who say, well, I went to the social pages. I asked for recommendations. We live in a review-based world. People go, I read the reviews, that kind of stuff. And that's challenging. You know what I mean? I empathize with much of our market demographic because it is becoming harder and harder to separate the wheat from the chaff, because I don't know what we do as we move forward, because if we get this, I'm going to say it, Terraflex, right now there's a bunch of people who think Terraflex is still a good product.
Yep. And it was a long time ago.
And it was the coup de grace 25 years ago. ProComp, Rubicon Express.
Yep.
Poison Spider just got re-released.
Yep.
And Poison Spider just got picked up by ARB. It's going to be a great brand again, probably.
Right.
But all of these have gone
like
through.
Harley Davidson.
Oh,
Started out pretty cool. Then they got bought by MF. Some people love that. Some people hate it. they literally there's diehard Harley Davidson people that won't buy an AMF Harley.
Sure.
So when you're going to buy a Harley and you're looking across the landscape and you're saying, okay, how much is this one? How much is that one? The AMF ones have no value.
Correct.
So how often do people go and buy that? Well, now I got a Harley. And then you're literally in that situation. You show up to an event and you're almost shunned.
Correct.
Because you didn't buy the right one.
And I mean, I get that from my vantage point. I would not be able to easily identify somebody who falls within one of those eras.
Correct.
I can pick out as an absolute blank slate consumer of Harley experience.
Yeah.
If you told me you had a shovel head, you told me you had a night train, you had you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'll be able to kind of pick out the coolness factor from there.
Yes.
But I would not be able to do the brand justice as a generic consumer right now. If somebody's to walk in and be like, hey, I got to sell this motorcycle. It's really cool. I'll make you a heck of a deal. I would be like, oh, okay, cool. Sounds like a cool deal. And it says Harley.
Yes.
All too often, that's what happens to our projects, whether it is part related or whether it is the project itself.
Yep. And another thing,
When Jeep people are not familiar enough.
it makes me think of this. I'm so guilty of this. So guilty of settling. So you go in and again, just to continue bashing the Harley horse into the ground.
Yeah.
You go in and you really want a knucklehead. And, those are super expensive. They're super old. And you have to give up a lot of things to ride one.
You have to sacrifice to be cool. It's the vintage Jeep.
You
right?
are a hardcore person riding a knucklehead.
That's right.
So you go in and you're like, man, I like the romanticizing of it. I like the vintage appeal of it, but I can't afford a knucklehead. Now, I've done multiple things here in this situation. I've gone in and I've bought parts of that vehicle that I really want that I can't afford. That's foolish. I'll just put that out there. Very, very seldom does that actually work out.
You're relating this to your Jeep builds or to your Ford builds?
Yes. Yeah. I've done it with all of them.
Because I was going to say, I definitely, you specifically with a couple of your early model Jeep builds.
Yep.
And I want to die with you on this hill.
Yeah.
And I'm going to relate it to my RVs.
Yeah, absolutely.
My 454 all
Absolutely.
aluminum motorhome.
It had all the cool
It had
things.
all of the cool factor.
And then you fell in love more once you were able to experience it and research it and the romanticizing of why it was built, how it was built,
Correct.
what was in the
It got cooler and cooler and
The heyday
realer and
of it.
realer, and I had it in my possession.
Yep. I mean, be very honest. At one time, I tried to build a flat fender out of a rusted out pair of front fenders, a dented in bastion hood, and a grill. And I thought, I can build a vehicle out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I can save it from the brink of extinction.
Yes. This
No,
can
it
be
didn't
my
happen.
dream. This can be my dream.
I think we finally scrapped the fenders a while back because, of course, what did I do when I finally gave up? I was like, hey, Neil, I got some Jeep parts.
Ah, and I'm like, I'm glutton for punishment.
I can see the dream here. I know it's not going to be a vehicle, but I can totally save that part and find somebody to buy that part.
There's a butt for every seat.
No, we couldn't find that butt. There's a fender flapped in the breeze.
Because it was such junk and
Yeah.
it was not worth repairing the aftermarket parts that exist. And blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
it was bad. And then the other part of it, again, is settling with buying the closest thing you can get. So, say for Jeep World, you want a flat fender. Well, can't quite afford a flat fender. Can't find a good flat fender. It's really outside my comfort zone. So I go and I buy a YJ. They aren't the same.
Rob and Bill just felt some type of way. They just felt the hair stand up on the back of their
And
neck.
they're great if you want a YJ.
Yeah.
And going into it and you want that 80s experience,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if you're trying to make it fit the mold of a flat fender, you're not going to experience. And another, I guess, better example is 80s CJ versus 80s YJ. You know, people like, well, 1 year difference can make a big difference. They could be looking at a CJ7 and they could accidentally get in and buy an 88 YJ.
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that, except for they didn't understand what it's totally different camps, totally different circles, totally different parts of the environment.
I mean, and let's go back and we can even just make it, kind of apple to apple. A 76 CJ5 and a 77 CJ5.
Totally different.
They're completely different animals,
Yeah.
right? And I want to kind of further my self-deprecation and in relation to your conversation here and share with people, we're not speaking from some holier than thou position. We're talking from experience because, in my situation and, just talking about how we've learned so many lessons in the hardest ways possible. So it's 2014, 15, somewhere in there. And I had a truck camper slid in the back of my 1 ton, and that's how we had been going to shows for the first couple of years.
Yep.
But I found myself, not only was I spending time loading the enclosed trailers and readying for the show, but I had a day's worth of preparation to get the camper into the bed of the truck.
And again, if that was your enthusiast, you want to go camping, that's part of your experience of prepping the camper, getting it in the truck, then that's probably fun. But his expectation of that project shifted. He had bought it before the business.
Correct.
And it was fun. It was enthusiast time. And then it became an important tool in the toolbox of the business. So now that time that once was relaxing and enjoyable, now we're just winding down from a day at the work. Now it is work. And now we don't want to invest that time into it.
Oh, you articulated that so well because I bought that
Happy
dream.
experience or nothing.
Yeah. I bought that dream and it was so fulfilling. My wife and I were young. We didn't have a slew of projects. We did this restoration on this camper together. We didn't have kids. We had all this stuff. We didn't have a big family, so a truck camper made sense at that
Absolutely.
time. And I bought a vintage truck camper, and we redid the upholstery, we did the interior. It was
got to
fun.
pick out things.
We got to pick out things, and that was part of buying our dream of taking this to the beach, taking it to the mountains, doing that stuff.
And that's actually brings me to another point, knowing when to say when.
Well, so with that said, okay,
Yeah.
and I'll expand upon that. So as you're right, as life shifts in that particular project, now it's a tool in the toolbox for the business, and I get to the point where I'm like, it's not fun to load and unload this camper. I'm not joyfully anticipating going camping for the weekend.
Yes.
Or traveling with this. Now I just want to load and go so that I can be to the show and live out of this
And at the
space.
same time, we started having kids.
Sure.
So now suddenly the truck camper doesn't even fit with that.
So an RV makes sense.
Yes.
And I start doing my due diligence, and I want something cool. I always want
Absolutely.
something that kind of stands
And we
out.
like to build with our hands.
And I obviously was easily distracted by availability. And this was kind of what I wanted to touch on
And a bargain.
And a bargain. And I showed up to pull God, I don't even remember what year it was now.
It was
71.
It was all plaid and orange and browns and greens and
Yeah, it was a 70-something.
shag.
Barth motorhome, which was intended to be a competitor for the Airstream series. Airstream only ever made pull-behind trailers, and Barth intended to take that same technology, aluminum-clad design, and apply it to a motorhome. They utilized primarily GM chassis. Later on, they used...
Spoiler alert, young Neil and Scott thought that was a great thing.
That was perfect.
Parts are everywhere.
Yeah, P30 chassis. Parts are everywhere. I will never have a problem servicing this.
Yeah.
So, and it had a 454 in it. I mean, and that
And it was
appealed,
low mileage.
low mileage. And as I got further down the conversation and negotiation with the guy goes, you know what? Just take it for free off my property. I've got a clean title for it. We'll do all this stuff. And as long as you make it go away within this time frame, it's yours.
Yep.
This couldn't have been better, despite the fact that my original objective was
For less work.
for less work. The objective was to get a mode of transportation that would allow us to hook up to the show trailer and get to an event with less energy expended.
And you know what wasn't in our brain at that moment? the fact it was getting 4 miles to the gallon before you hooked the trailer to it was even a click on our idea.
Quadrajet carbureted 454 that didn't run in 20
And
years.
just because it's fun to be the pit of jokes. We didn't even have a winch on the trailer.
No.
He had my dad's old come-alongs that were like from.
They were 6 foot come-alongs. They were 6 foot or less.
I thought they were 4. I was.
They're 4 to 6. That's what I said. 6 foot or less. So
They
they're
were
4 to 6
terrible.
foot come-alongs, and I just dual come-along this thing at 48 to 72 inches at a time.
Yeah.
And when one would get maxed out, I would unhook and rehook the other one, and I'd pull it up 4 to 6 feet with these.
Of course,
come-alongs.
it was hot and.
It was a nightmare. It took me literally an entire day, 8 to 10 hour day of extracting this RV from.
I think one of the come-alongs ended up getting broke in the process.
It did. It got bent because I was getting it at the breakover angle of the trailer, and come hell or high water, I was getting that RV onto this gooseneck that I had borrowed. My gooseneck wasn't big enough to bring this RV home. I had to go borrow a bigger one from a local farmer that I knew.
With all these red flags.
All the red flags. And
Why
yet-
is it free?
And that's the thing, right? I looked out at the market at these other businesses who had toter homes that cost at that time $100,000.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can do that with some elbow grease.
Yeah. And you
can't. No.
You can if you have
If time is on your side.
times on your side. If you have 10 years to do it,
Sure.
then yes, you can.
Sure.
And because of that's why there's so many abandoned projects.
So when to say when?
When to say when.
So when to say when, we eventually get to the point where, with your and Greg's encouragement, and it was like kicking or screaming. It was like an intervention.
Yeah.
I did not want to. I'm sad that I do not have this
Absolutely.
vehicle in my possession
And
today.
you were actually not the status quo. You were able to still make some money off of it because it did have a 454 in it, and it was low mileage, and we were able to pull the motor and sell it. So because you had zero entrance fee,
Correct.
you were able to flip it and make some money on it. It still made you sad,
Right.
but you were able to kind of take a bad situation and make the best of it as you could. The other part is knowing when to say when. As examples, I built a Gremlin with a V8 in it just out of high school. We had so much fun in it. It was literally at our wedding. It was a copy of it was our boxes of where the cards went for our wedding.
Yep.
So you can't get any more invested in a vehicle than I was. And me and my wife, then girlfriend, now wife, had put stuff together on it. It was literally Neil and the slide-in camper. And I had learned a lesson from Neil. He had the camper, had sat in the driveway. They had all this investment in it. They had their time invested in it. They liked the
had
romance
dreams
of
in
it.
We had romance. Yeah, absolutely.
And because of that, he didn't let it go. And like all good campers, roofs start getting leaky, mice get in it, and
A tree branch came down and smashed one of the aluminum ladder rungs. Now it's depreciating.
more and
And
more and more. So right about when it stopped making sense, he probably could have turned around and sold it and passed it on to the next person in the chain and got some money out of it.
Got better money out of it.
And the camper may have benefited out of it as well. But he didn't. He held on to it. I'm going to fix it someday. I'm going to use it again. It will make sense in my life at some point again. And it didn't.
Nope.
And because of that, he really took a bath on it. Likewise, Gremlin, great 2-seater vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Started having kids and came to the realization that kids don't fit in a Gremlin. It didn't really fit the needs of that age Scott. It was a great high school car. It was a great right out of school car. We had so much fun in it. And I did something that I still have people come up to me. I can't believe you sold that. You know what? I have no regrets. I sold it. I passed it on to a person that was in that stage in life that they could use it and enjoy it. and that's the best thing going.
Now, and we have to wrap this up. I will say I regret it all, even though I like to say that I like to live life with no regrets. If you know the meme, you'll know the meme.
Yeah.
I say that from the extension that everything that we do here and now makes us who we are at this exact moment. So everything we did once makes us who we are now. And if you're happy with who you are now, then that means that no matter what your past was or what has flowed in and out of your life, it was for a purpose of where you currently are in this universe. And I can appreciate that, but then I can also look back longingly and be like, man, I had this conversion van once and I would love to have that experience again. Now, that van probably doesn't make sense. It probably just like the truck camper was such a foregone piece of junk by the time that I offloaded it. Just thank God for COVID, because everybody was doing projects. So the price point came up $100 or $200
Yeah.
from just scrap wood, you
Yes.
know? And, you know, sold it on to somebody else who had a dream of redoing it. They saw the vision that I once saw as well, you know?
Yes.
And so understand that it's relative to the time and place that you are in as well in life. And despite our learning curve on these projects, if you find yourself happy where you're at now, that project had a purpose.
Absolutely.
Whether you knew when to say when, or you had all the tools, or you didn't have all the tools in the toolbox necessary for
And
it.
another quick example is, you know, growing up, I had Cherokees, and I had a dream of how I wanted to build a Cherokee. And I thought I've been on all the forums. I know all the parts. I know where to look for them. I know how to find a good one. I know the year to buy, and I did it. I bought the year. I bought the cleanliness. I knew how to outfit it. I did that. I got it all done. I was like, I have evolved from this.
Mm-hmm.
And while I built a really cool Jeep and it worked really well, it wasn't what I wanted anymore. And that was okay.
Yep, that's okay.
So I sold that one and went down the road. And I don't regret that either. Probably financially should be.
I was going to say, financially, we try not to count that.
But it's okay to realize you've changed from what you thought you wanted to do. And I was at the end of that project, you know, basically I had invested at that point. You know, I had done that project to completion, and it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Then sell it and go buy what will make you happy.
And I think that that's a good closing point, and it has to do with a couple of those Jeeps that we did. We did talk about. Some of them are getting rebuilt. Some of them that we looked at last week, that kind of inspired today's topic. Some of them are getting rebuilt and improved upon. Some of them are kind of getting some minimal investment to make them more their dream. And some of them are going, hey, what can I use off of this? How can I pass it on to the next person so that I can achieve that vision, that dream that I wanted?
Yep.
All right, until next time. And if you want to hear what's going on in our personal lives, hang through the outro. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Look at that.
Wow.
We are doing things.
Magic.
There was a ton of comments that came in. And we appreciate everybody's comments. There's a lot of people who said good morning. I want to make sure that we take some time just to say that if you did, weigh in and say good morning, that, our intention is that we did read that and we do recognize it. So, Charles and Yvonne and Chip and Bill and Brian, we see you guys. Thank you so much for jumping in and being involved. Red is here. So thank you all for jumping into the comments and kind of sharing with other Jeepers in the process. Recognize that if you're listening at a later date, you too can kind of jump in at some future Monday morning at 10:19 a.m. and jump into the comments. There's a lot of good conversation. There was tons of activity in the comments today. It's so much that unfortunately I'm not going to jump back and read it all, but there was a lot of fun things to
it seems like it really
about.
struck a chord with a lot of
I think it
today.
did, because I think that's one of the things that
It's relatable.
It's relatable, right? And hopefully people are reasonably not as catastrophic as we are in our decision making. But when we used to go out picking, we would go picking at these properties and stuff, and we
There's a
met
lot of lost dreams in those fields.
a lot of lost dreams, and yet there was a number of people, and I mean, I hate to call a spade, but maybe some mental health issues where they were holding on to dreams that were just kind of never going to come to fruition, or they saw the potential in something far more gone than it should, right? We had people who had hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. I remember one individual, and I'm not trying to talk poorly on anybody, but I mean, he probably had, I mean, he worked at a junkyard.
Yep.
He worked at a junkyard his whole life. And when something cool, right, statistically, iconically cool came around,
He grabbed it.
he drug it home for his daily wage.
Yeah.
He would get this project vehicle on payment, and so we walked through this junkyard, which is, basically his backyard, picking. It was for your birthday or my birthday.
I don't even remember.
One of our birthdays, we went picking at this
Yeah.
guy's junkyard.
And the coolest part, honestly, for us when he was doing that, he told us the dream
Every single vehicle, he
of
told us.
what he wanted to do with it, and there it sat exactly where he drug it home.
Except for when he locked us in his basement with his chainsaw
With
collection.
chainsaws. Yeah.
Anyways, I had less of a mechanical weekend, so
Yes.
I'll start.
Yep.
Okay. In fact, I had an artistic weekend, and I spent the weekend. What I did do that's related to our vehicles is my wife's mall crawler did work, right? And I mean, as in true Simpson fashion, I wanted to squeeze as much life into a short period of time as humanly possible. But your project conversation could not have been more apropos, because we squeezed myself, my wife, our kids who are above average size, and our 2 dogs
All in a JLU.
into my wife's JLU with kennel and baggage, and we headed off to a really spectacular the Michigan Ballet Festival, and where my daughter had the opportunity to perform and learn and pursue kind of her love, her project,
Her dream.
her dreams,
Yeah.
right? Not my dreams per se, you know what I mean? If you were to kind of go back 5, 10, 15 years and be like, would you like to go to Michigan to the ballet festival? It's not exactly something I jump at, but I'm here to share that dream with my kids. And
Yeah.
the Jeep was our vessel to get there, and it did beautifully. And packing stuff in there, you get really creative. And I was really tickled, and I spent a lot of headspace. I love road trips, and a number of people. I typically try not to post when I'm out of town. It's a little bit of a thing,
Yeah.
So but I love road trips, and I want to post about how the Jeep is doing. I think about these things in the back of my brain, sharing that experience with, with our listeners, with our followers on social media, with other people. And I thought to myself, like, if you would have gone back 30 years and told me that I'd be commuting 4 to 6 hours in any general direction on 37s while traveling 75 miles per hour while getting fair fuel economy,
With that much people and stuff in the vehicle.
I'd call you crazy.
I know.
I'd call you crazy. And here I am, and we're not doing anything spectacular at Jen's Jeep. It's not a super high end, fluffed up, I'm a cloaked suspension system, and it's just a regular suspension system.
And right there is a perfect example of buying the right vehicle for the needs and use of the project.
And we're just able to comfortably set the cruise control and go 6 hours in one direction with a very limited input. I'm able to hit some dirt trails. I'm able to comfortably traverse some things once I get to that
Can you
location.
get in your YJ with the 4-cylinder and automatic and drive it to North Carolina? Yeah, you can.
I did that. It's not good. It's not good. I did it. As
Memories
Scott's-
were made.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. My wife and I did great memory. God, the stuff that I have subjected that woman to. Anyways, And we made great memories. Doesn't mean it's ideal, right?
No.
It would have been absolutely awful, miserable to do that kind of same trip today. Anyway, so we did that. We did the Michigan Ballet. I was able to thanks be to Costco for cheap fuel and cheap food. We did it on the way out of town and we did it on the way back in. It was a super amazing experience. The last piece that I will share with you is, or with everyone actually, I 100% convinced myself that I am now in the market for a conversion van.
Oh God.
That meets my needs somewhere along my my barometer of project.
Oh boy.
Now, you know that I have no time to work on anything. In fact, my personal vehicle is only roadworthy because I worked it into our work schedule.
Yes.
And thanks to you and Greg for making it safe for me, my family, and then all the customers that I've been loaning it to.
Yes.
I'm about to loan it out to my sister at this point because why do I need a reliable vehicle? Blech. You know, I don't get that luxury in life. But I thought, that's it. I'm gonna build a conversion van.
Oh boy.
We're gonna get a 92 G20 3/4 ton conversion van. We're gonna stuff an LS in it with an 8L90. So I'm gonna get an 8-speed transmission with a 6.0 or 6.2. You know what's not gonna
I'm
happen.
gonna get a stick out and whap him.
I'm just, and that was the thing. That was the only downside was like, there comes a point in time where the dream, the project, which was my wife's commuter rig, doesn't meet the full needs of the family. The expectations and the follow through differ ever so slightly.
Yep.
While, kudos to my family for having a great attitude and dealing with the puppies who were, puppies in a confined space for hours on end.
Yep.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Right? It's the life we want to live, but the tool that we had available to us wasn't the right tool for the job.
Yep.
And that's the piece I thought was very appropriate to your concept today was that. And let me take that one extension further. Most of you know that I have a limousine, which I love desperately, and I have no intention to let that go because I bought right.
Yeah.
Right in the first place, and it allows me to putter around town, and I get to do fun things with my kids, and it is what it is. You also can't upchurch the limo reasonably to commute up to Michigan, to carry our luggage, to do all the things,
Right.
to be that multifaceted.
It's a toy. and
It's a toy at that point.
yeah.
So I just thought to myself, like, I spent a lot of time daydreaming this weekend, and I had to keep coming back to, I don't have the means available to build what I want, despite the fact that I want this Swiss Army knife of a family carrier.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to buy right.
Yep.
To meet my needs.
Yep.
Great topic in that sense.
Yep.
Let's talk about what you did, because I saw your piece of crap that you brought home.
So I've been working on the Model T. Everyone knows this weekend's project was the header above the windshield. Again, talk about things you don't know till you know them. The way I chopped this car, the distance between the A-pillars got smaller.
Between the A-pillars, windshield to windshield?
Windshield post to windshield post.
So
got
now your
smaller.
windshield itself does not fit.
The windshield just fits, thank goodness.
Oh, okay.
But the header did not fit.
Okay.
And these cars, for lack of a better term, have a big brow above the windshield. So the side windows are ridiculously clown car tall. The windshield they made slightly less, and they had this brow with this big over extenuated visor on the front. I don't like the brow. So since I lowered the roof 6 inches and made the side windows look more appropriate, I did not want to take 6 inches out of the windshield to keep the brow. So I actually had to make it narrower to now fit in the hole. Plus I cut it and took about 4 inches out of the brow and moved the windshield back up.
Oh, okay.
To make insult to injury, though, I still have to cut the windshield frame down because it's so god awful tall.
This is very confusing. I got to be honest. I see things moving into negative
it's-
spaces and things moving up and things moving down, but wow.
And to do this correctly, I had the take the brow apart, find all the spot welds, cut them all apart, and then attack each piece of the brow separately, all while allowing them to go back together. So it
Okay.
took. This
It's
is
a
one of
jigsaw
those
puzzle of a 36 proportion or something.
Yeah,
Or
it-
26. What year is it?
26.
26. my
So, and this is one of those situations where I did a lot of work, about 2 days worth of work, and nobody's going to notice.
No.
I had no idea all the work that went into this thing. And as part of that, I had a friend reach out. He had a dream of building a 26T sedan, and he was ready to extinguish that idea for now. He does long term want to do it, but he's realizing that this parts that he had hauled home were not getting him any closer to that. And he gave me a ridiculously low number to buy him out of those, and I couldn't say no. So I got a Model T sedan body, I got fenders, I got another frame, I got a bunch of parts. Now, where wiser, smarter Scott differs from young, dumb Scott is young Scott would have started building a sedan.
100%. You would have started to assemble things.
I have all the pieces almost. I went in and said, there's some parts I need for the coupe that are on the sedan that I cannot buy and are very expensive. So, spoiler alert, it hasn't been taken a picture of yet, but it's in 2 pieces. And I then took the back window out of it because
oh my goodness.
it is parts.
You chopped it up.
I chopped it up. I wasn't the first one to chop it. I'll
Sure.
say that.
Yeah, yeah.
There was inappropriate things done to it way in the past that has made the ability of it to be a project less and less.
Literally, it's 100 years old.
It is.
I mean, you know how many hands have touched it in 100 years?
A lot.
Yeah.
The fun point I'll leave you with, I took the back window out of it. They bolt together. What tool did I have to use? Now I took heat, I took a cutoff wheel, I took a box end wrench that was 9/16 on one end and 1/2 inch on the other, so it's a little stubby
Yes.
Craftsman. I took a 3/8 wrench, open end, and a 7/16.
Yes.
Of that group, what did I have to use?
The 1/2 inch.
I used a 1/2 inch and I used the 3/8, and almost all the bolts came out by hand.
I miss those days.
If they didn't come out by hand, they broke off by hand.
Yep. That was
Tomato.
until next time, fam.
Jeep
Jeep
on.
on.